Love me or hate me, but sure as well feel me. I think this was one important lesson that I learned, at least from part one of this series of differentiation versus distinctiveness. I think at one end, while differentiation helps you functionally stand out or put a differentiation to yourself, it's distinctiveness that keeps you really memorable. So think of iconic brands like Apple and Coke, which we spoke about. They do stand out because of how they've constructed those memory structures. A lot more on semiotics and how such brands do this in part two of this episode. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. And for those who found better insights or actual relevant examples, we are looking for your comments in the comment section. Let us know what you thought of the episode and what more you'd like to see from us. See you guys on the other side.
Yeah, and actually, this is the first episode where, like, even the title doesn't say what we are going to talk about, so nobody has any
So
clue.
this should be surprise me one or something like that. Because
Surprise.
it's like that only, no?
Yeah. Sample one of N.
Sample. Okay.
So that's all good, all good.
So I'll tell you. Basically, I was actually thinking about our chat the last time that we had,
Hmm.
and one of the topics that came out at that point in time was this whole thing of differentiation versus distinction. Remember, we talked of
Hmm.
Byron Sharp, and then we talked of double
Hmm.
jeopardy, and then
Hmm.
we were also talking of this beautiful thing that he's brought out, which is to say, fundamentally today your ability to create differentiation, which is something that gives you competitive advantage over a sustained period of time, is pretty much all but gone, right? And therefore what you need to do is just basically sprinkle stardust on everything that you can,
Hmm. Hmm.
even the
Hmm.
smallest of things that gives you distinctiveness, and that helps you build salience, and therefore and therefore win. So on the whole, meaningful, differentiated and salient piece, given that your ability to influence differentiated is difficult, and a lot of meaningfulness is actually driven by a lot of the other brands also. So it's meaningful is a lot more about building the whole category relevance and therefore meaning, though brands can take the lead there also, but therefore the game is played on salience. And that got me thinking. I actually wanted to check with you, and you might want to kind of, in a typical interview scenario, I'll say, okay, take a couple of minutes, think about it. But honestly, which was the last differentiated offering that you saw in the market?
Which was the last differentiated offering I saw in the market. Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Hmm.
It's
I'll
been a
give
while.
those 2 minutes. Yeah.
Good.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, for some reason, that stupid where is the pulp thing happened. Uh, 10 years ago, it was some juice, some orange juice. I don't even remember the brand though.
Yeah, it was Minute Maid, pulpy orange.
So where is the pulp? So I thought, yeah, okay, that's differentiation. So that came to my mind. That doesn't mean that that's the last thing I've seen, but that certainly came to my mind. Mm,
No, so that's differentiated and distinctive.
correct. But I looked at it as a differentiated thing.
No, it was, sure,
Yeah,
sure, sure.
yeah.
And
Uh,
honestly, no one else has been actually. It was. If we were to kind of take a second on that, and maybe I'll ask you only, why did you think it was differentiated?
First of all, it was a very visceral reaction. I wanted to taste the damn thing at that
Hmm.
time. Right? It was a very visceral, emotional reaction. I want to taste it, man. Pulp, and I could feel it in my imagination, and then I confirmed it. Yeah, this is different. This is pulpy, and all of that. And so I thought they just killed it over there. I thought that was really cool. I
It
don't
was
know.
absolutely. I'm saying interesting because the good thing is that no one has been able to kind of bring that to
Hmm.
their, so to speak, core competence
Hmm.
for their
Hmm.
area of differentiation.
Hmm.
And they kind of ran with it. It's another matter. I don't know if they were able to actually come out with anything else where they were able to sell this pulp. And I'm saying I have not been consuming juices, so I won't know. But I don't really see Minute Maid kind of being the choice of, so to speak, a lot of people in today's day and time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's worked out for them, to be honest.
But that's true. That's true. It was definitely differentiated.
Yeah.
Krishni, do you even remember Pulpy Orange?
Yeah, yeah, of course I remember pulpy orange, and I do agree it's differentiated. I have a question though. Okay. And it may be like we may need to dumb this down for our audience also. Help me understand in like 10 words what is the difference between differentiated and
Hmm.
distinctive. And
Yeah.
I
That's a good
asked this
question.
because um, when I think differentiated, I was like, okay, the product offering needs to be differentiated or the marketing needs to be. Because with what Sid said first, which is it got a emotional reaction out of me, that can happen from how you advertise and how you build a brand also. So please help me understand. So I try and think of a well suited example.
No, it's a great
Talk,
question.
you want to go first?
No, I think differentiation. I see. Okay, first of all, there is a bit of an overlap. Okay, in my head, I don't think Byron Chappell and company have done a really good job, strangely, of explaining the difference. And in subsequent LinkedIn posts, he has said that, look, I have never railed against differentiation, right? I've always said you need to do both, but probably distinctiveness is more important, and then differentiation or something like that. But having said that, the way in which I understood what they were trying to say is, when you're saying differentiate, you're differentiating from competition, right? You're essentially differentiating from competition, and now that can be from a product perspective, a brand perspective, everything. When you're doing distinctive, it means you're investing in a lot of very specific brand assets, which could also be I mean, you could have product, but essentially it's brand assets which look and feel, and just you just know, oh damn, that's the Google icon or whatever, that's a Nike. So Nike is distinctive. It
Swoosh. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
got it.
So I don't know if I've done a good job, but I think
No,
that's what
I,
I'm.
I I agree with you. I think, Krishni, the reality is that I think the place where both differentiation and distinctiveness are connected with each other is the fact that both of them play a very important role in building the business franchise, right? If there is nothing
Yeah,
that separates, so think of it like this: if
Hmm.
there's nothing that separates you from the competition, then why would someone choose you? Now, differentiation, as Sid said,
absolutely.
and I completely agree, differentiation could come from anything. It could be an actual product feature, it could be just the experience, it could even
Yeah.
be the way it is communicated to people. Anything like that is differentiation, with this element of the fact that differentiation helps, will build a moat, so to speak,
Yeah.
yeah, which will keep the competition away for some time.
Hmm.
And that's the sustained benefit that differentiation can give, and which is why Baron Sharp also says that it's that much more difficult to achieve, because today people's ability to copy,
Moat.
yeah,
Yeah. The moat
Yeah.
doesn't exist almost.
is just amazingly easy. And I'll give you a very simple exercise of what
Hmm.
we used to do on Vaseline jelly at some point in time. Was that we realized that, well, fundamentally everyone comes and copies us in terms of look, feel, and then no one has the time to read whether it's Vaseline or Valecine or Vaboline or whatever.
Hmm.
So what we used to do was, there was a project that used to run, which was to say, how do we change the shape of the pack,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
suddenly, in the time that we will come out with a new pack format, competition will take their own time, maybe a season or two, to
Hmm.
copy those molds and come back with the same pack. So you
Hmm.
got these benefits coming in simply because that was the place, right? Not to say that
Yeah.
gasoline did not have its differentiation, but I was
Yeah.
coming in from the fact of uh,
How we
this is So there is a mode that is being created, but at the same time, distinctiveness is about saying, hey, now let's take the same example of jellies, and fundamentally there's not a huge difference between jellies.
No.
Now what do you do? How do you kind of rise to the top of the consumer consideration set for them to pick up? And
Hmm.
therefore distinctiveness is about utilizing, and as Sid said, any and every brand asset that you can, even the smallest of things,
Yeah.
that you can actually take up so that salience goes up,
Yeah.
right? So again, if I were to kind of go back to just 5 7 minutes back on the meaningful, differentiated and salient piece, now you start working on the salient so that consumer makes choices, because if they remember you, they'll pick you up.
Yeah.
Which is जो दिखता है वो बिकता है या जो याद रहता है वो बिकता है.
Correct.
Exactly, that's what it
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
वो दिखेगा भी, दिखेगा उससे याद आ जाएगा तो भी काम बन जाएगा ना.
Hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, sorry, and I'm picking a very lame example, but we were discussing this some very local brand in Ahmedabad while we were in Mica, ended up giving like a very big ad in a national daily.
Hmm.
And the conversation at Chota at the time was, अरे यार इन्होंने, and it was some very lame industry like water tanks, right? Like nobody, no consumer wants to hear about water tanks. But seeing that ad, people were like, अरे यार इतना बड़ा ad दिया है, पैसे तो होंगे इस कंपनी के पास, so they must be good. So would this in some way create like distinction in the customer's mind?
Hmm.
Because it does create salience in the form of, oh,
Hmm.
they are part of big media, and
Hmm.
therefore at a subconscious level you're like, if they can afford this, they
So
must be good.
interesting. Yeah. Interesting
No,
example.
Sorry, I'm just
true.
asking questions and
No, no.
dodging answering your
It's a
first, but
genuine question, and honestly, see again. Let me also bring in another facet then, which is the level of involvement that goes into a purchase.
Hmm.
yeah,
And in categories where involvements are very low,
Hmm.
your game works much better when you are distinct rather than when you are seriously differentiated.
Yes.
Forget about, and I'm saying whether it is something as low, and low involvement again means everything. When it comes to a water tank or a pipe or a wire, right? These are like, people would know. I don't know. Like, bring anything. But then if
yeah,
you remembered, okay, it is KK pipe or Astral tanks or
mm,
ABC tiles, then you will say, okay, yeah, ABC Liana. The other extreme of that would be potato chips,
Yeah.
right? It's all about salience. Now, there you, Lay's came out once with saying, oh, they have 40% less oil.
yeah,
Did that even matter? Right? So, so the differentiation there does not matter. It's the distinctiveness that matters there.
I
yeah.
think
And
And
that.
I
that
have a
element of
follow-up
involvement,
question.
Yeah.
I have a
that
follow-up
element of involvement
question.
that also comes in, where
Yeah.
you put a lot more weight to differentiation. Again, differentiation can happen everywhere, but you will put a lot more weight to differentiation, because differentiation can mean it is for me, it is not for everyone, and therefore I am also picking up.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But to that, I have a question in this chips wala category where Lay's sort of operates. You think it is low involvement because I feel taste has a big role to.
No, no.
Uh,
He's saying it is high involvement.
yeah. Okay. Sorry. I
Yeah.
think I
It's high
misunderstood.
involvement, but I have a point of view here which I wanted to just struck me, right, about this differentiation thing, and I feel that a lot of differentiation happens from a provider centric perspective, which actually does not help. Which means that my product has X feature and does not have Y feature, or does Z process better and stuff like that, which may not necessarily actually translate into any kind of emotional upheaval, turmoil, or melt forward, or whatever you want to call it, from a consumer perspective. I think,
Yeah.
therefore, perhaps Swapnil, and here's a point of view that probably we might put forth to by Professor Sharp, is that maybe differentiation sucks nowadays because differentiation isn't done well. It is not done well. So, I
So
don't know.
no, you're right, Sid, and I think you you've actually picked it up very well. The problem that has happened with differentiation today is that it has become what I am providing, While differentiation exists in the mind of the consumer.
Yes.
Yeah.
What matters to them, see, what is a brand? Brand is what the consumer think it is. I could think I am the cat's whiskers, but if
Mm.
the consumer believes I am shit, then I am shit. There are no two ways about it. So
Yeah.
one of the reasons why it ends up getting done wrong is because a lot of people approach it from the point of view of saying, I think this is right.
Hmm.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
It does not work that way.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
at
Mm.
least
But
at least not in the beginning.
No.
And again, let me also put across, we are working with human beings, we are working with human behavior, and therefore it's not always 100% of the times, because I'm saying the other end of the spectrum also is where Henry Ford said, if I had gone ahead and asked people, yeah,
Yeah.
they would have asked for a faster horse, they would have never asked for a car.
yeah,
Correct.
Right? But those genuine innovations, yeah, never
Rare.
before,
Mm.
is like a is a very very different thing. And I'm saying Henry Ford also got to say all of that because there were others who had failed before him.
yeah,
And you know something really interesting? Not just Henry Ford did not differentiate in the sense that he said, I don't care as long as it's black, right? And he could do
yeah.
that because he was the first mover. He said, okay, black. Black it
Yeah,
is.
No, but with that, like if you see brands of today, like one industry that I can think of is quick commerce, right?
Hmm.
I think at some point Swiggy or Zomato, I don't remember who sort of initiated first, but somewhere they were there together with like starting to actually it was Swiggy with Instamart, I think. And
Hmm.
now Zomato owns Blinkit, and then there's a Zepto, and Dunzo was the first player, which is now not even there in the picture, given
Hmm.
all the acquisitions and how the business is going. Like, how do you say differentiated in a space which is for consumers that openly say we are cash rich and time poor,
Hmm.
and the need becomes very functional, deliver fast. That's like convenience is the differentiator. Like, how do you then become or continue being differentiated with more and more players sort of coming in? Because I feel like brands are still distinctive, like they have their identity, they have their brand colors, but it's not like this is not a product you'll have a feel uh, home feeling with, like a Nike shoe. When you touch it, when you keep it in the box, that swoosh gives you a feeling. What's
Hmm.
a Zepto or a Zomato going to give you, whose job is send my shit quickly and I don't want to see you after that because I don't have
so
time.
Yeah.
so Krishni, I think again, just a few dots that we've already discussed, and I'll quickly put them across. You clearly called it out that convenience is a big need,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
But there is no differentiation in this category, it's only
No.
distinctiveness.
Hmm.
Now how are they driving distinctiveness? The game is all about distinctiveness. And think about it like this: you have a preferred q-commerce supplier. Yeah, you either open Instamart first, or you open Blinkit first, or you open Zepto first. Right?
yeah,
You never go ahead and say, hey, okay, inky pinky ponky, let me decide which one. Or you never go and say, oh, let me compare, this one's giving in 10 minutes, this one's giving in 12 minutes, I'll go with the 10 minutes, 2 minute बचा के पता नहीं मैं क्या कर लूंगी.
yeah.
Their game is about, and that's where distinctiveness is working for them, saying every time you want something to be delivered in the next 10 minutes,
Think of
are
us.
you opening a Blinkit or are you opening up Instamart? Because the rest of it is taken care of. You're not going to compare and say, oh, this one's saying 15 minutes, let me go and see. The same happens in Uber and Ola.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
only there's no differentiation. यार वही गाड़ी आनी है, उसी में वही बदबू आनी है. In fact, there are so many times that the same driver has both Ola
don't
and
hold on. Yeah,
Uber, right? They just
The
decide
odors
which
are the same. Yeah, I love that.
both is the same. And it has, if you come to Delhi, you also see that all cars have been banned left, right, and center, because that's how people drive in Delhi.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then what do you do?
No.
Then it's the game of distinctiveness, where you say, if I am the one that I am salient, I have won 9 out of 10 battles if I am the preferred app that one opens. You're either an Uber person or
Hmm.
a Ola person, unless and until there is a very big reason why something or the other. So Ola does not operate there. In that
You
hmm.
case, you
know,
go
I
Blah blah
just
blah.
thought of something when you're saying this, right? Recently, I think Zomato did something around again differentiating, which is around saying, "Oh, we will provide some green service for vegetarian only option," right?
Yeah.
Uh, Now
Yeah.
that is differentiation, right? That is
Yeah.
differentiation, and I don't know whether that's going to work. I'm not sure that that's going to work.
I think it
I'm
goes
not
to
sure.
Swapnil's earlier point, and
Yeah.
I'm saying it because we are also in the business of e-commerce. The speed at which a competitor can get what you already have, like your
Mhm.
edge timing doesn't last long. So
Mm.
Zomato launches this, Swiggy's gonna have it in the next 3 months,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then what? Then it's like it's leveling field, right? Like, and I kind of understand and agree, like distinctiveness is gonna set you apart. But I think where I struggle is, and because specifically in those examples I switch between Uber and Ola. I switch between Zepto and Blinkit and a Swiggy. Sure, I have my preferences of the app I'm used to, but it's something out of habit. Like I've
Mm.
always had this app, so I'm sort of using it.
But hold on, Krishni.
Mm.
The reason why habits get formed is because of memory structures, which is a
Absolutely.
direct correlation to distinctiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I look at where do you form strong memories, that happens because
So
of
if
distinctiveness.
I were to explain it to a layman, distinctiveness is nothing but are you noteworthy, which is you may hate me, you may love me, but
That
you
is
will see
exactly
me.
what it is. That is
Yeah,
exactly what it is. And sorry, but I'm saying, Sid, uh, this one's very interesting in terms of the way this has gone into. This has been rabbit hole after rabbit hole. But honestly, the Zomato thing that happened. Call
yeah.
me a cynic, but I really think the intent of that was only to drive distinctiveness. It was
Really?
never to say this, that,
Really?
blah, blah, blah. I think, again, my thoughts,
Hmm.
I think it was done just to get this narrative going, get everyone and their uncles to talk about it, right?
Hmm.
And then if it had, so it's
Possible.
like, if it works,
Possible.
why not? If it does not work, I've got distinctiveness.
So
The
let me
same,
ask you a different. Okay,
the
great.
same thing
I
happened.
am convinced. Okay, I'm convinced about what you're saying. I have another question then, which is related and connected to a recent campaign that Boat came up with. Right?
Mhm.
Distinctiveness.
It's
It's
distinctiveness, right?
pure distinctiveness. There is, see, if you think about it, and then interestingly, I wrote on LinkedIn about that today.
I saw the post.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It has nothing to do with Apple,
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It doesn't, right?
and I hope they worked with this philosophy that
Hmm.
this is to just drive. Let people take sides. My job is done, because it's a, see, understand it like this. And I'm saying, Apple is differentiated,
Correct.
Yeah.
and
But it's
it
also
is.
distinctive. Apple's
It
also
Yeah,
is.
distinctive.
exactly.
I was
Because the
about to say
white,
the same.
the
It
color.
is highly differentiated and extremely distinctive, and
Yes.
that's why it has the level of mental availability that Boat is fundamentally saying. If you think about it, in earphones category, there is no other brand.
Correct.
There is no other brand. There's one called Apple AirPods. Everything else is
Yeah.
submarine China,
Huh.
Hmm.
right? And therefore you say, "Acha, yahi naam tha." Imagine if there was this, if there were no other car brands in this country, and Maruti
Hmm.
were to come out,
Hmm.
they would
Hmm.
also say, no, okay, there is only this one brand that people know of, so I'll indict them, whether they are comparative or not, right? And that's how it'll work. So so honestly, it's an exercise in distinctiveness, no differentiation.
Now, I have a related question to this, and maybe I will further deepen the rabbit hole. I wonder if it will actually help Apple more than Boat because of Boat's ad.
Krishni, what are your thoughts? I'll tell you, because I have an
I
opinion.
think honestly, I don't think it'll help Apple. I feel honestly, when I saw the ad, I felt like Boat was trying to be cheeky, and
Mhm.
it got people talking about them, which is, I mean, honestly, distinctive in today's world to me is social currency.
Hmm.
Do at the end of the day, whatever you do gets people talking about you because I know distinctiveness is about building memory structures, but in a world where all this attention span is getting questioned, is that even going to sustain for a long period of time? And therefore, could I bring a Machis ki tili and just be the heated topic to talk about? Which brings me to something we discussed many episodes ago, which was that burner ad that what was I don't remember the brand, but
Snoop
the
Dogg.
Snoop Dogg thing. I am distinctive. You'll remember me, even if I'm not differentiated in the category.
Mm.
No, so Krishni, again, see, the intent behind distinctiveness and the need to do that much more aggressively today simply comes from the fact that there's so much more clutter.
Yeah,
But the fundamental of why consumers choose a brand will still be because they resonate with it, and that resonance comes from the mental structures that we're talking
Yeah.
about. It is just
yeah,
that the effort to build them and establish them becomes a lot more tougher simply because there are just too many stimuli.
Yeah, like for example, if you had 100 rupees, how many
mm,
rupees, and I'm going to ask this question to all of you, how many rupees will you spend on differentiation? How many rupees will you spend on distinctiveness, given a medium involvement category, let's say? So that, we're kind of,
yeah. The odds are,
yeah. Swapnil, you go first.
See, distinctiveness happens in the moment, and therefore, I would say that if I were to just look at innovation versus activation,
Hmm.
then all the money on activation is all for distinctiveness. If you're not differentiated today,
Hmm.
then there is a long haul where you have to first question, do you want to be differentiated, and if you do, then you'll have to work towards it. So
Yeah,
it's fundamentally that. And if you are differentiated today, then your job is distinctiveness. So in the here and now, it's always a distinctiveness job, not a differentiation job.
got it. Okay, so what you're saying is a lot of the product piece already has dealt with differentiation as much as possible. Now, you might be
Even your
completely
communication,
innovative.
see,
Oh,
when I say today, it is your communication might have done that for you.
hmm,
Remember the Vodafone and the Hutch advertising?
hmm, hmm, hmm.
It was
yeah,
everyone had the same offering,
Yeah.
but they were the most differentiated in terms of how people associated saying, "Hey, I have a Vodafone
Hmm,
connection."
hmm.
Right, and then obviously they were also the most distinctive in terms of their language, so they also became very differentiated and very distinctive,
Yeah.
till obviously they ended up being only distinctive, because if you remember times from that time, the ARPU for Vodafone used to be the highest in the country,
Hmm,
right? So they clearly got their audience and landed the fact that they differentiated with them well.
hmm, hmm. Yeah. Krishni, what do you think? I think we've kind of
I
succeeded in
think for
confusing the heck out
medium
of her.
term, I actually, what I picked up, I may want to spend more on distinctiveness because
Hmm,
of
hmm,
like memory structures, given it's a medium involvement category. Like,
hmm,
and I want to play probably the long game.
hmm.
On the contrary, instead of activation, took distinctiveness to be something that will play out eventually for the long run,
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay.
and I
Interesting.
would want to spend like more money there because maybe
Yeah.
it's a function of the
Good
categories.
point.
I mean, I'm finding it tougher and tougher to differentiate because you do something, the other guy is gonna get the same thing.
Hmm. No,
Uh,
fair. I
and
think.
it's the same with like electronics today, right? Like there's an Apple which has a white box, a phone that will stand out, a camera that stands out. The features may not like competitively. And then there's rest of the world. There's a Samsung, there's a OnePlus, there's a Xiaomi, and they have their cues of operation, but nothing's distinctive about them. That's like I see a box and I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be Xiaomi, and that gives me the feeling of this is that brand. Now it maybe they're not aspirational, and that's why I'm not finding them distinctive, but I
You're
don't
not the
feel
you're not the consumer either, and Apple is differentiated also. And
Yeah.
Apple is not
Experts.
different, and the best part is Apple differentiates itself on a very
that.
strong emotive element
Hmm.
Yeah,
that comes from a very distinctive product performance.
Hmm.
Yeah, people, which is why I keep on saying the same thing, which is why a Samsung will come out with an ad which says x 100 mbs of space and 3 and y 100 gbs of this and these many megapixels, and Apple can come out with saying, hey, now in yellow. Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me one
But
thing, Swapnil, have we answered your original question, or what the fuck was
no,
the original question?
Krishni has not answered. So
And I've
she,
just asked questions today.
in her good kid mode, she came and said, "Okay, now tell me. First, let before you ask me the question, first tell me what differentiation and distinctiveness is. So now that we've explained it and spent 20 minutes on that,
No, because
the
we're
question
almost
back
reaching
to
towards
you.
the end of the class,
Yeah,
which is why I'm saying, are we at least even attempted to answer the first question?
Yeah.
Because led me to so many more questions.
yeah. And I
So,
feel
so
this
the,
needs like
the
a
most
part.
different, so the last time you saw differentiation.
Hmm. She still can't remember. She's
No,
such
no,
a
I
millennial, I
think
tell you.
no, no. I think
Clutterbrain.
one first and it's maybe a shitty example, but I felt differentiation that I saw in the and I'm like very far away from the consumer of these products, but in the luxury brand space, I felt this Hermes brand like
Hmm.
really stood out. Now everybody's talking about quiet luxury and everything, but all the other luxury brands, so to say, like it was very logo first and
Hmm.
like very
Hmm.
in your face, like this is the brand, this is how I signal, versus how this brand was. And if I think about memory structures, it was also very distinctive in the colors it uses, like the orange bag, the handbag. You'll always remember those cues or memory structures, so to say. To me, that was one brand that was not only differentiated but also distinctive, at least in
Interesting.
the
So,
consumer's mind. And surprisingly, all other brands are also technically distinctive because there's that LV logo that is stand out. There's the G in Gucci, but still it's differentiated. And
no,
now
which
I
is
want to
fine. So I think
put my money
so.
on
The
differentiated.
so the first part, the first interesting observation for me is the fact that you at least remembered something which is less than a decade old. She
Hmm.
remembers something which is 3 decades old. For her, nothing else has been differentiated enough for to shine.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah, even when there's a Red Bull or a GoPro
I'm an
and so
old
on and
soul.
so forth.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
but
an.
but anyway, not the topic of the discussion, but those were genuine, so to speak, differentiated products. Because and I'm saying one might now argue that well, there is a Sting and so on and so forth, but I'm saying Red Bull has had its run in India also for the
Hmm.
longest time, and it's been
Yeah.
quite a successful run. And the second point, if you think about it, is the fact how difficult it is to be differentiated in the first place.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It is.
I think today this term differentiation is so loosely used. Yeah. When the reality is that it's it's so difficult to kind of land that, and then once you've landed on it, your wholehearted effort to stay with it, because there are so many. We think about it. I'm sure you'll think of brands that were truly differentiated and then they lost their way simply because well, I'm the new brand person on the brand, let me do something new,
Yeah.
right? And lost their way, and now they can't find their way back. And it impacts what they do, right? And how they kind of how they perform in the market today.
So here's what I propose, because I suspect that we all have to go for class and therefore we might be running out of time. Is that I have thought of a really interesting question based upon today's discussion. Okay, which can continue this a little further as part two with the next time we talk. Okay, and maybe I'll introduce that question to you and get what that is, but I'll throw it as a surprise. What do you think?
You throw that as a surprise?
Yeah,
Surprise me part two.
yeah, surprising part two. What do you think?
So we
Oh
should do
wow.
it tomorrow then, just
I'm
so we can,
fine. Absolutely.
Yeah, tomorrow works absolutely.
just so we like the anxiety can not go through the roof.
Okay, all right. I didn't intend to create any anxiety here, but okay.
But I'm like,
Yeah,
what's the
yeah.
question?
Yeah, no, it's all right. Good.
Super.
Wonderful. Thank you. Lovely. Swapnil,
Thank
what a
you.
wonderful question.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Yeah.
So fact of the day:
Yeah.
Ah, fact of the day.
a truly differentiated product that was brought into the market, uh, which is Viagra, was actually being developed to cure
Yeah.
depression.
Yeah, we know this. We
We know
know this.
this.
We
So
know
let me
this.
then let me think of something else.
Yes.
Do you know? Okay, so another fact, and this is very interesting. I came to know of it only a few days back, but I thought it was just the most interesting thing that I heard. So 15 days before the Rath Yatra in Puri,
Hmm.
right? On the Purnima, the three gods, yeah, they are actually given a bath. It's called
Okay.
Snan Purnima.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then for the next 14 days, uh, no one is allowed to visit the gods. The temples are shut, as in the after the bath, and it's a big event. Everyone attends it, blah blah blah. And then after that, the next thing that happens is that they actually are brought out only for the Rath Yatra.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the funda behind that is that because in that weather they've taken such a long bath, they fall ill, and they are in
Really?
they're
Wow.
actually they're actually then kept away from everyone else because they've fallen sick, right? So it's the
Oh,
period in which they basically are
Gods
in
fall
yeah.
sick.
isolation so that they can cure themselves and then they come out.
And sorry, so when is this period exactly? Tell me.
So 15 days before Rath Yatra.
Rath.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
it's Snan Purnima and 14 days of isolation, and then it's straight to Rath Yatra.
So even the gods fall sick, eh?
Even
Yeah,
the gods.
that's my.
What hope do we have? What hope do we have?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right.
So
Okay. Wonderful.